What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Ball to Ball series. As you know, the Ball to Ball series is an opportunity for us to come home to sit down with real men and have real talk about the hair loss journey, the ups and the downs. Today, we have a special guest, John Cook. I met John last week as we were pitching Come Home in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa has been a great environment and opportunity for our business, and I happen to meet John along this journey. John, it's a pleasure having you. Give a quick introduction to the people, brother.
Hey, good morning, Kenny. Thanks so much for this opportunity. Yeah, so John Cook, I'm a native Tulsan, and I'm an operations, professional, and I've led some large Fortune 50 companies in the Tulsa area with their operations. And so I met you because I was invited to come out and hear this amazing pitch about a new idea, new product, and I did not know it had anything to do with bald people. And when I heard it, I was immediately enthused and excited. I think I told you I was a senior member of your team now as a bald guy. But I'm a native Tulsan. Graduated college around here. Went to high school around here. My family still lives here, and I'm just blessed that I've been able to enjoy a great career so far, serving the Lord and serving the people, and doing the best I can to help as many people as I can. So this is
Awesome.
cool.
Awesome. So, John, you mentioned kind of growing up in Tulsa and being a native Tulsan. One of the big things about Come Home is we love to really talk about the aspect and the concept of home, because that means a lot to so many different people. When you think about the word home, what memories does that bring back for you growing up in Tulsa?
Yeah, like for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is my mom and dad, and coming home from college, or coming home from wrestling practice, or coming home from soccer practice, or just coming home for dinner when we would have dinner around the house. To me, I think the feeling was always, it's comfort, it's security, it's something I'm used to, something where I can relax usually, right? It depends on how my report card looks. And just for me, it's always, I always want to provide a home that would be comfort and a safe place for my kids. And so that's kind of what I think about.
So, John, you see what you did there just then. You did it for us. How you said coming home, you felt safe. Coming home, there's a level of comfort. And we like to tie that back into the brand, because that's also part of the brand. Like when you're dealing with hair loss and you're struggling with those emotions, that anxiety, we're like, hey, just come home. You're going to come home, shave your head. You'll be a place of more confidence, more security, and get rid of that insecurity when you're dealing with the receding hairline or the bald spot. So you kind of made that play on words for us, and we appreciate you, man.
I'm here to help.
So, John, today I see you, and obviously, like you said, you showed up to our pitch rocking the bald head, and we love it, because obviously we're a big fan of bald men. But we know that you didn't always look like this. There was a time back in the day when you probably had a head full of flowing hair. Can you take us back, man, to like middle school, high school, whatever you can remember? What kind of hair did you have then, John, and what did it mean to you?
Hey, Kenny, Fabio had nothing on me back in the day. I'm just gonna say, I had this long hair that was down to the middle of my back, and I played soccer in college. So yes, I used to call it the European soccer cut, but I think today everyone would recognize it as a mullet. But I worked hard on that, and yes, I had long blonde hair. But back then, I could grow hair on my head, but I couldn't grow any kind of a beard. So through the years, it's changed. But having that hair, I will tell you, I had such fun with it, because going to basketball games, girls love to play with my hair. And I'm like, this is fantastic. And so, yes, I had a lot of hair. And then as I graduated college, I know that my hair it got shorter and shorter with every interview I had. Not because it's falling out, but because I had to get myself mature and responsible looking. So I cut it up, but I always had a lot of hair.
So Fabio had nothing on you. That's amazing. So as you kind of went through college, started going into the workplace, did you immediately start noticing some hair loss, or did it take a while before you started actually noticing? How did that work?
Yeah, for me, I noticed it gradually. And it wasn't until probably 10 or 15 years ago that I actually wouldn't admit it. I wouldn't acknowledge it. I would just, some friends would say, dude, my kids would say, Dad, your hair's like falling out. I was like, no, I got plenty of hair. And yeah. And it wasn't until I was, I kept getting it cut shorter because that was kind of the style, and I liked the military look or whatever it was. And I'd pull it forward, but I had it cut really short, and that was great. And then I was at a corporate function, and I was one of the presenters. So I was sitting up front, and we had these giant cameras or giant screens and cameras to show what was going on in the front row with all the activities. And I'll never forget this, Kenny, but I'm sitting there front row, looking at the screen, looking at what my guys are doing. And I noticed, I was sitting next to this guy that's bald, a buddy of mine. And I was sitting next to him, and I looked up on the screen, and I'm looking at my bald buddy, and I'm wondering who's the bald guy sitting next to him. And I literally did one of these things. I kind of put my hand like next to him to make sure. And that's when I fully realized, oh my God, that's me. And I mean, the back of my head was bald. And so that moment I decided I am holding on to something that I don't have anymore.
So John, that is good, man, because when you heard our pitch, so you heard my story, had a very similar story, how I was looking at a picture of someone, I'm like, oh my God, who is that? Had no idea it was me. And then I was stunned to find out, like, wow, like that's me. And I'm walking around looking like this. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of guys end up going through this hair loss process and really kind of like somehow not noticing it or really just denying it. You know what I mean? For the longest, until there's that one moment where you're like, wow. And we kind of both had that moment. Can you talk to me more about before that moment? You said you had, your kids talking about it. Did you actually see it at all and just never paid attention to it? Or did you really not notice it before that moment?
Yeah, Kenny. And yeah, that's one of the things I really love about you is our stories are so similar. And then for me, it was, no, I did not notice it. I mean, my kids would tease me about it, but I teased my dad, and he's still carrying some, bless his heart, his 19 white hairs on his head. No, he's got more hair than that. But I used to tell him, Dad, you're really, losing your hair. He's like, no. Well, I was the same way. I mean, looking like this, I felt like I had hair, right? And the other thing is, there's a lot. I felt like I know now, but I didn't notice it then. But there's a lot of pressure from society and marketers and all this about having great hair. Well, I was of the mindset of, I've got hair, I'll tune that out, right? No big deal. And I've got friends that were bald, and they had talked about Rogaine and some of the other things to try to grow hair back. And I told them, I said, why? That's stupid. Just, you look good. And then when I noticed my hair, and I thought, wow, I'm one of those guys. I'm never going to be a pull over guy. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off. So I was cutting it like a 1/4 inch short. Mm-hmm. And then I think I shared with you when I met you, I said, that was a pain. It's messy. It's a pain. Yeah. Just shave it. Just go for it. Right. And yeah, when I first shaved my head, it was a shock to the system, right? I mean, you look really cool, but I was like, what have I done? And
no, same, John. It wasn't, I didn't shave my head and immediately feel like this is great, right? And I don't want to tell men out there that say, hey, like, come home and all of a sudden you're going to feel like you're this model. It doesn't happen like that. So the story, we need to tell a true story, right? The part of this brand is being very authentic and real about it. There may be a little stage where you need to be comfortable. You need to get comfortable with your new look. And all change requires some kind of time, right? So I think it took me about probably like a solid month and a half to really kind of get used to my new look and embrace it. But I will say, John, people were embracing it immediately. It was an internal battle for me that I was fighting. Immediately, I was getting gratification from the people outside.
That again, Kenny, same thing. And I love that you say that, because that was my experience too, is that when I said there, some people are like, it's about time, or why didn't you before? Because you look great. And I mean, and then they said, either way, you can do your little stubbles on the side if you want, or bald, but you look great bald. And I've had the experiences of, well, I like it now because to me, it is less hassle. It is me. And I've had female friends tell me that they really like it, and I didn't. You're right. Internally, I thought, oh crap, I'm a bald guy. I'm a single middle-aged bald guy. Oh no. But man, I'll tell you, it is to me, I've always been a real confident guy. I'm a very competitive guy. I've been a leader in corporations for a long time. I love playing all kinds of sports, and I want to win, and I want to try really hard and do well. But yeah, you're right. At first, it was a setback. It was like, man, I want hair, but boy, I'll tell you, I own it. I like it. It works for me. And, last year about this time, I had a really long white beard. So maybe what I need to do for November is get my no shave November going. And then we'll talk in a month or so, and I'll be rocking a big white beard.
You got to bring it back. We'd love to see that. John, let me ask you another question, man. You mentioned how you had some bald friends already. Do you think having bald friends helped you say, you know what, I can do this? Or did you talk to them about it? Did you say, hey, like I'm thinking about shaving this, what product should I get, et cetera? Did you have any conversation with anybody about it?
I had conversations with them after I shaved my head.
Okay.
Because I learned that, your scalp, well, I learned my scalp is a sensitive deal, right? And it wasn't used to being shaved. And so, yeah, I did start doing a lot of research with friends about, okay, what do you do? How do you get your head to look like that? And so I asked a lot of questions about, okay, now that I'm doing this, I didn't ask anyone, should I shave my head necessarily? But after I did, I needed help with what's working for you, right?
Yeah.
What seems to be working for you? And then I had another buddy that had just a nightmare. He kept missing spots on his head. I was like, okay, I don't want to do what you're doing. What are you missing? If I'm going to do this, I want it to be clean shaven, and I want it to be complete and tight. And
So what is your current routine now? Because obviously you could probably you got your routine down pat, you got a process. What are you doing now to keep a clean shave bald?
Yeah, I have tried a lot of things. I've tried the electric buzzers. I've tried electric razors. So yeah, my routine now is I shave my head twice a week.
Okay.
And it works for me. It's kind of cool because like just before I shave it, I've got these white stubbles, right? And it looks okay. But then right after that, I don't like it at all. I feel like it is unkept, doesn't look good, and it's got to go. So it's about every 3 days for me. Shave in the shower, get it all tight and clean, and then I use a normal lotion on my head. I've always done that on all my skin, but I just want to make sure I'm taking care of my head. And then, for me as a fair-skinned guy that has to be concerned with sunburn, is that I'm very careful with covering my head outside. Matter of fact, I just had an appointment with my dermatologist, and he said, "Dude, you're doing great with keeping your scalp safe." And I was like, "Okay." But I wear hats and sunscreen all the time when I'm out. Like if the sun comes out today and we go golf, I'm wearing sunscreen.
So a couple of things that you mentioned that I want to circle back on. One, we talked about the some of the surprises that you kind of come about when you actually decide to come home and shave your head. One we've talked about already is that the surprise that, hey, like people kind of love this look, and it's kind of an internal battle. Another surprise that me and you talked about in the past is the idea of having to maintain so much, right? I think there's an idea when you see a bald man walking down the street, like, this guy has no hair. There's nothing for him to do, which quite the contrary, right? There's a ton of maintenance that goes into this. You just mentioned you're shaving your head every 3 days. And probably if you want to keep a super clean shave, you could be shaving even more frequently, right? I know guys that shave every single day. Mm-hmm. So are there any other surprises that you kind of found when you decided to come home that you're like, I didn't expect this as a bald man? I'll throw another one out there, is the sweating, right? I feel like now, like, there's no hair to catch the sweat. So I might just be walking down the street, walking to school or something, and all of a sudden I'm sweating. And I'm like, I remember having to deal with this when I had hair. So now I'm either going like this or carrying around a handkerchief or something. What other surprises can you recall from your transition of having hair to shaving your head and coming home?
Well, I'm going to tell you on the head sweating thing. Of course I experienced the same thing, but what it made me think about is all these people with hair, their head sweats the same.
Yep.
And how gross is that? Because they're not wiping it off with a handkerchief. I'm like, oh, I can't believe you got hair, buddy. You need to wash that.
Advantage us.
Advantage us. That's right. And so, yeah, I know that I used to remark the guy that I was sitting next to at the corporate event. I used to say, man, your head is so shiny, and it is shiny. And sometimes it's because of sweat or a little bit of oil on your head. And so like I find out what I do is when I'm whatever at lunch or I go wash my hands, I'll have an opportunity to wipe my head off, sweating or not. I just kind of wipe it off. But the other surprise to me is how sensitive my scalp is. Like when I shave my face, I don't nick myself as nearly as often as I do sometimes when I shave my head. So I find I got to be a little more careful. And it is a lot of work. And now I think I'm like you too. I'm very particular.
Yeah.
And when I get out of the shower and I'm all ready and everything, and if I see one little stubble, it does surprise me because I did see a lot of bald guys, and I assumed a lot of the times they had zero hair, they had nothing to do. That's great. Well, I know I don't want one hair out of place if I get one. So yeah, I do maintain it very regularly, and I just wanted whatever I have or don't have, I want to look the best I have, right? And so it's gotta be sharp.
John, so another thing I want to talk about here is in my humble opinion, okay, and I'm just one opinion now. In my humble opinion, I feel like currently we're at a time where like bald men are really, I mean, I hate to say that we're the kind of like we're the peak, we're the top of the top now, but I feel like people are really starting to realize like, hey, like we're kind of hot stuff out here. And I think in the past, there's been this whole stigma around hair loss, whole stigma. You're losing your hair, grow it back, grow it back. You're losing your hair, oh my God, you covered up, wear a hat. But I feel like today people are really starting to embrace this look. Do you feel like you start to realize more and more men around you being bald and being confident about it?
I have. I notice a lot of people in the workforce, which is like I notice athletes. It seems to me like either fantastically big hair, right, or shaved heads. And there are some of these athletes that I look and I'm like, man, excuse my English, but badass, right? They take their helmet off and they're shaved head. I mean, just like, whoa, look at that guy. Yep. And then others, you've got the giant hair sticking out of the helmet, which I always wonder how the helmet fits. But I look at that, but I think it's because I'm more aware that I notice, and I try to see, what do they look like as a bald person. And there's a guy at church that plays the keyboards and he has giant hair. And the other day he had shaved his head and he said, I'm just trying a new look. And he looked awesome. Now in a week, he can have a full head of hair again, but he shaved his head. And I was like, man, that is a cool look on you. And, super talented guy and all this stuff, but it was kind of cool to see that he wanted to try that for a new look. And, he has the option where I don't. Yep. And I'm glad to see, though, that people are trying the bald option. Yep. And, more people may see that it's a pretty good one to have. And it is less work. I think it's less work. There's some few little things you got to do. But like today, here in Tulsa, it's super windy. I don't have to worry about a bad hair day. And, so I just look at that and I think it's becoming, to me, I think there's always been bald people, right? But these days it's absolutely more common to go ahead and shave your head. And I'm just encouraging dudes that I feel like are approaching the comb over. In my culture, in my age bracket, there's a lot of dudes that are considering that comb over. And I told a guy, one had a toupee. I said, get rid of the toupee. And he did. And his wife said, thank you. Finally, someone said something. And he got rid of the toupee, shaved his head, and he looks great. And then another guy was starting to do this. I don't know what happens. You hit 50, all of a sudden this comb starts working kind of a weird way. But all of our previous years, we had made fun of comb over. Sorry guys, if you're combing over, you know who you are. Stop it. Shave your head. Yeah.
That's amazing, man. That is amazing. One point I'll also bring up that you just brought up is, you know what? I've never realized, John, that there were men out here that were just choosing to be bald, right? Like I went bald by force. I was losing my hair, right? So when I started actually working on Come Home, I remember I sent out a survey to a whole bunch of friends, guys that were bald, to figure out like, hey, how long were you losing your hair? How did you get to this point? And there was a question on the survey that asked about, were you like, how long were you losing your hair? Something of that nature. And I remember a guy responding to me and saying, hey, like, there's no answer that fits my situation in this question. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? And he was like, I just decided to shave my head because I wanted to be bald. And I was stunned at the time. So this is like 2.5 years ago. I was stunned. I was like, wait, what? You just wanted the bald look? And he's like, yeah. So this guy had chose to be bald, and has been bald since then for at least 4 years. And I'm like, wow, guys today are just choosing this look. But then when I started doing my research, I found out, as I talked about in the pitch, the perception of bald men is this badass perception. Like women see bald men and think, okay, this guy's confident. This guy's successful. He's powerful. That's the perception that bald men are getting right now. And that's an amazing thing to talk about too.
Yeah, I think that, one of the things I was thinking about is, there was a joke about, this is terrible, but, a hairy chest or not, right? And the joke is that, grass doesn't grow on the playground. That stupid comment, right? Well, I mean, I kind of think that a bald guy is always thinking, and I don't know, always rubbing your head, or always has a plan, always is confident. And I was confident before, you were too, before we were bald. And so I think we remain that way. And I do think it's about the personality, and you can change that insecurity of what you can't control, really, and make it something that you can control. And that's how you react to it. And so I either feel like I have a full head of hair, whatever, I don't care. This is what I look like. And I do have that confidence, and I'm not a troublemaker, and I'm not a badass by any means. You met me, I'm tiny, and I'm in good shape, and I take care of myself, but I'm a thoughtful person. I'm a connector, networker. I'm a servant leader. That's who I am. And I happen to be bald, and, I kind of like it.
Love it, man. John, let's get to the last the lightning round here, the last 4 questions. And we want to kind of just throw these questions out, and the first answer that comes to your head, you kind of throw it out there for me, all right?
Okay.
All right, so our first question here is, bald guys like me and you, we don't really have the opportunity to kind of switch our hairstyle, right? This is what we got. So many of us will use hats to kind of like switch up our looks a bit. Do you have a go-to or favorite hat, and what is it?
I do. I actually have a couple. So I have an Atlanta Falcons ball cap. I'm a big Falcons fan, so I like that. Black and red all the way. And then I'm an OSU fan, so I have a black OSU golf hat and I have a white OSU golf hat. So it depends on which shirt I'm wearing. And then, to the chagrin of my kids, I do have a Gilligan hat that I wear because it protects my ears and when I go to the beach and such. But those are my 4 go-to hats. And and the more comfortable, the better for me.
Okay, I
need to get more stylish hats, probably.
I might send you some recommendations, man. John.
I would love it.
And I won't bring up the Falcons' loss to the Patriots in that Super Bowl, man, because I know.
Oh yeah, not again. You're not the first one, right? We have beat the Dolphins and the Jets this year. That's exciting.
The Dolphins and that's the only 2 wins you guys have so far?
We have 3. This weekend, hopefully we beat, we're playing the Panthers this week.
So I will say I'm not a big Panther fan. I grew up a basketball guy. So I didn't get into football. I only got into football because of, one, going to Michigan, and then fantasy football. So you don't worry. If you guys beat the Panthers, actually, I will root for you guys to beat the Panthers this year. I'm unbothered about that.
I would appreciate that. We need all the fan support we can get.
Next question here, John. So as we know, there's a ton of confident bald men killing it in so many different industries. Specifically, we can talk about sports. Got Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Andre Agassi. The list goes on and on. Then you can talk about business. You got Jeff Bezos. You got what's his name? Ben Horowitz. Then you can talk about Hollywood as well. Samuel L. Jackson, Stanley Tucci, Dwayne Johnson, Vin Diesel, John Travolta. Now there's so many bald men killing it. If you had to think about the 4 most iconic bald men that you would put on the Mount Rushmore of bald men, what 4 would that be, John?
Well, since this is in the lightning round and I don't have time to think and research that, the first people that popped in my mind, because I'm a big fan of Dwayne Johnson's. I liked him when he was The Rock. I really like him and like what he's done with his career. And, he held on to his hair for a
Oh, yeah.
while. And when he shaved his head, he absolutely has owned it and owned
He's
it for a long
rocked
time.
it.
And see, like Andre Agassi is interesting because I remember him when he had the huge hair. That's what I had, Kenny. And so I really respect and appreciate the fact that he's had a major transition in front of millions of people, where he's gone from big hair to shaved head. And, again, that dude looks awesome. And he's still married to Steffi Graf, which is so impressive, right? And then, there was another guy, John Travolta. I've been a fan of his. Like, I really, really like him. And no one's seen the movie, but Wild Hogs, the biker movie. I'm a biker too. And Travolta's always had cool hair. And in the movie Michael, he's got cool hair and grease and all that stuff. But for him to shave his head and rock that, is impressive. And he seems like a pretty down to earth Hollywood, for a Hollywood guy, pretty down to earth. But I just look at these guys that are owning it, accepting it, owning it. And then, I don't know, you and I need a beacon necessarily, because we are confident men as it is, but it's cool to be part of that crowd.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the next question here we're going to get into is, one, we talk about how come home really is a phrase used to encourage men to come home. And I'm sure, John, when we get this one published, there's going to be guys watching this who are still struggling with hair loss, dealing with some anxiety, embarrassment. What's the advice you would give to guys who may still been dealing with that hair, going through that hair loss process? What's the best advice you'd give to them?
Yeah, I will tell you that do it. And I'm not trying to steal Nike's comment, but really just do it, because I stewed about it for too long. And when I finally did, because I was sick of my other situation, but I shaved my head and it has been great. It's been great. And if I heard myself say that before I shaved my head, I may go, oh, whatever, you've been there, done that. Well, right. I have been there, done that. And so I guess I'm telling my past self, you should have done it sooner. And it is not that bad. And it's quite amazing as far as maintenance is concerned. And, your family and friends are going to love you no matter what. And what you're going to find is you're going to have new friends, because you're going to have dudes saying, oh man, thanks for, welcome to the club, whatever. And you're going to have other friends that are going to say, that really looks good on you.
Love it, love it, love it. Final question here. So, John, come home from a French standpoint is actually translates to English to mean like a man or as a man. So we also like to dive into the conversation about manhood here as well. So when you think about what it means to be a man today in 2021, what does that mean to you?
Kenny, that's an important deal. And I've thought about that as who I am as a person. And I am a faithful follower of Christ, and I am a servant leader. And I pray every morning that I shine God's love in all I do and all I say. And every night, I will tell you, I pray the same prayer, but I ask, how did I do? And as a man, I own that responsibility. I own how I'm treating others, how I treat my family, how I treat coworkers, how I treat everybody. I no matter who they are. Like I told you last night, I served the homeless community in Tulsa, and I don't look at myself as any better than they are. I look at we're all friends, we're all family. And as a man, I want to be there to show other men that we can be servant leaders by serving others, right? I'm a humble leader as a dad, brother, son, uncle, neighbor, friend. And I believe as a man, we need to step up to the plate and get involved and care and love on each other, love ourselves, love each other. And I don't think there's anything more manly than doing that.
Selflessness, humility, and leadership. Just three amazing traits and qualities that I believe also that all men should have to continue to be leaders in today's society, because the Lord knows we definitely need them. John, Amen. Thank you so much for this episode, man. This has been a great episode, learning everything about you from growing up in Tulsa, your very random love for the Atlanta Falcons, which I'm unsure about that, the Fabio hair, and I would love to see a picture of that. But everything about the story has been great. Thank you for helping us here today, kind of spread the gospel and to help us bring some more men home. You have any last words before we wrap this up, brother?
I have a couple last words. One, I have 2 Mike Vick jerseys. But the other thing is, what I saw in you guys presenting this product, it was more about you men that attracted me, in the fact that you're driven, smart people looking to help others. And along the way of helping others, you're going to benefit society. You're using your God-given talents. And I was super impressed with what you guys are talking about, what you're doing. And so that's why I wanted to follow up and talk to you some more. And I just encourage others to have an open heart, open ear, open mind, and then have the courage to make that step. Because this is way out of my comfort zone. This is way out of my element. But I love it. And because I want to be able to share this story and share it through you and your effort. But I just pray that people would have, again, open eyes, open ears, open heart, and then have the courage to make that step.
My man. Guys, this has been another great episode of the Ball to Bowl series. John, thank you so much for being our special guest today. You guys will be able to catch this episode on YouTube, Instagram, and our other social channels. Until next time, y'all stay bald and y'all stay bold, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, Kenny. See you guys.